Again, these images coming to you from the forecourt of Rashtrapati Bhavan, where the president of the Maldives, Mohamed Muizzu, will now be receiving a guard of honor. This is a very important visit, which, as we've been saying, is meant to reset the rather difficult relationship which we've seen of late between the two countries. In a very important interview given to the Times of India, President Mohamed Muizzu, ahead of his arrival in India, says that the Maldives will not do anything to undermine the security of India. Now, these are very welcome words for New Delhi because it comes at a time when we've seen a growing Chinese presence in the waters of the Indian Ocean. We've seen so-called Chinese research ships dock in Malé itself. And we've seen the president of the Maldives travel to Beijing on his first state visit, as opposed to the traditional visit to India first, which is what other Maldivian presidents have done. India has a very close economic relationship with the Maldives. That is something which President Muizzu would be looking forward to get a handle on this time around. It assists the Maldives in many ways. Again, that's something that Maldives would seek to extend cooperation on. There are, of course, historic cultural links between India and the Maldives. There have been some important statements which have come in the last little while from the Maldives, not least of all in that interview which I referred to the Times of India, where Mohamed Muizzu said that New Delhi was a valued partner and friend, and that cooperation will continue in various areas, including defense, and that will always be a priority. I think it's important to try and understand the geopolitical significance of this reset in relations. Over the last several years, we've seen an increased presence of China in the waters of the Indian Ocean. We've seen China set up its first overseas military base in Djibouti in the Horn of Africa. We've seen China in the Hambantota port in Sri Lanka, which they have on lease. We've seen China operate any number of research vessels up and down the Bay of Bengal. And we've seen some of these vessels dock in Malé as well, in the Maldives. China has also been competing in a sense, or reaching out to the leadership of the Maldives to try and get more economic projects assigned to them. This is where India needs to come in, and where India has made it a point that regional stability and balance needs to be maintained. And I think the remark made by the president of the Maldives that Malé will not do anything to undermine the security of India reflects perhaps the changing mindset of people in the Maldives. When the Maldivian president asked Indian military personnel operating those 3 aircraft, 2 helicopters and 1 fixed-wing aircraft, to actually leave, there was this concerted effort at, protests over here on India. It became a social media issue. This after there were some rather difficult, trying comments made by some Maldivian leaders directed at Prime Minister Modi. You could see Prime Minister Modi meet President Muizzu just now. There was a huge drop in tourism between India and the Maldives. But I think the Maldives would want to fix that, because there is, to a certain extent, an economic priority in ensuring that that relationship is stable. Yesterday, when he arrived in India, President Muizzu was on board an Indian Air Force aircraft. The first officer to greet him upon his arrival in New Delhi was an Indian Air Force officer. So again, it's a full-fledged state visit which has been given, a huge honor to the Maldivian president, and that sort of conforms to the close relationship which we've always had between India and the Maldives. He'll be here for 4 or 5 days. He'll be traveling to Mumbai and I believe to Bengaluru as well. He has said that the relationship between the two countries is something that he seeks to expand on, to build on the respect and shared interests between the two countries. While we enhance cooperation with other countries in various sectors, we remain committed to ensuring our actions do not compromise the security and stability of our region. So while not saying that they would move away from China, certainly saying that India will also remain a priority in that relationship, and that the focus of his government was to foster growth and development through diverse international cooperations. This is all part of what President Muizzu calls his Maldives First policy. And in as much as India is an important partner, he did say that it is essential for the Maldives to diversify international relations and reduce overdependence on any one country. So perhaps mixed signals at one level, but the statement that says that India's security will not be compromised is significant.
Vishnu there, thank you so much for getting us all those details of the visit of the President of Maldives, who's here, who just received a ceremonial welcome by the Prime Minister and the President of the country. He's here on a 5-day visit, and like Vishnu mentioned, he will also be visiting Agra as well as Mumbai and Bengaluru. We will keep getting you the very latest. For now, we're slipping into a very short break.
Hello, Moto.
Motorola Edge 50 Pro, world's first AI-powered pro-grade camera.
Three spectators have died after chaos that took place at the Indian Air Force's air show. These 3 spectators died after the show as 15 lakh spectators turned out to watch the air show, while the government in Tamil Nadu has claimed adequate medical arrangements were in place based on the requirements of the Air Force. Actors are set to appear before the special investigation team looking into the Me Too allegations of the Kerala film industry. The veteran actor got interim protection from his arrest from the talk court after being booked in a rape case. He has now agreed to come in willingly for questioning. Bengal miners' rape and murder case, a second postmortem will be held after the order of the High Court. Party strategy huddle ahead of counting day. Political parties in a huddle in Jammu and Kashmir, the India bloc, to ensure that they have the numbers as poll pundits give them the edge. And in Haryana, the Congress focuses on the challenge of fixing a face of the Chief Minister.
Download any single ID partner app, link your card and earn reward with top brand.
Get it free with single ID.
New day, new show, a new experience.
Start your day with the news, not views.
We bring you stories that matter
And impact your life.
News that informs and keeps you ahead.
from Maximum City, Mumbai,
To the seat of power, Delhi.
NDTV brings you the best breakfast show.
breakfast news on NDTV, 8 a.m. every day.
कि जिसकी सरकार सेंटर में हुई है उसी की सरकार प्रदेश में होती है।
एंटी इनकम्बेंसी को कैसे देख रहे हैं? इनकम्बेंसी नहीं है,
प्रो इनकम्बेंसी।
कांग्रेस आ रही है, भाजपा जा रही है।
Congress is going to form the government in Haryana with a big majority.
From the heart of city in Beirut, a city which is scarred by violence and caught between the crossfire between Israel and Hezbollah. A war which started a year ago between Israel and Hamas has now spilled over to Lebanon. NDTV is on the ground to bring latest updates, in-depth analysis, and how the evolving war has impacted this country. Stay tuned for latest updates.
NDTV World Summit 2024, October 21st and 22nd, only on NDTV Network. Stay informed and entertained with the new and updated NDTV News app. You can watch all our channels live, listen to podcasts.
Welcome back. Let's Latest from Bengal, and this is in regard to the middle-aged woman who was allegedly abducted and raped and murdered in East Midnapur district of West Bengal. Now, the main accused in the case has been lynched by a mob in a case of street justice. The family of the deceased woman claims that the incident took place on the 4th of October when the middle-aged woman went to graze cows and goats in the field behind her house. From there, she was allegedly picked up by some people, and later the woman was found naked, allegedly with poison that was poured on her face. The woman was shifted to a hospital, but she died during treatment. Following the incident, the news that spread across the village, it was the villagers that decided to take things into their own hands. To get more on this, we have Saurabh joining us. Saurabh, it was the crowd that in the village that decided to take the matter into their own hands, and that's when they lynched this man, who was then taken to the hospital but died.
That's right. It seems to have been a case of street justice against someone who was accused of allegedly assaulting a woman and also, being, responsible for her death. At least that was the suspicion. And in this context, there was an angry mob, that gathered and stormed the house of the person whom they believed to be the accused. And then, of course, he was dragged out and beaten by a mob. And you can see in the video that he's being repeatedly struck by, sticks that are being wielded by the mob, comprising largely of women. Now, this followed, of course, the anger against the incident that had taken place earlier, where a woman's body, was recovered from the field nearby where she had gone to graze her cattle. And this incident, of course, led to or the belief that this person was the accused behind that incident, led to this mob lynching incident in which, what we're being given to understand is that the person who was lynched by the mob has also died. And also, of course, earlier, the incident over which this anger actually erupted, in that case, of course, the middle-aged woman, also died.
Of course, thank you so much for getting us all those details. And switching tracks to the Calcutta High Court on Sunday, ordering that a second post-mortem be conducted on the schoolgirl who was allegedly gang raped and murdered in West Bengal's South 24 Parganas district. This is the High Court that has given its nod for conducting a second post-mortem on the girl, the minor, who was allegedly raped and murdered in 24 Parganas. This is in fact in West Bengal, where the incident that took place in South 24 Parganas district, and the second post-mortem report has been asked by the High Court. Saurabh joining us to get us more details on this. Saurabh, take us through the details of the first post-mortem report that has emerged, and the basis on which the High Court has asked for the second post-mortem.
That's right. The Calcutta High Court, after hearing a plea yesterday, ordered a second post-mortem in this case. Now, this case, of course, has also seen anger, given the fact that we saw a police outpost in the Mohishamari area in South 24 Parganas district of West Bengal being torched by angry locals. Now, this girl had gone missing on late Friday evening, and the parents had approached the nearby police camp. The police, of course, had directed the parents to the nearest police station to file an FIR, because the police camp does not take FIRs. However, the investigation started immediately upon the complaint of the parents. The body was recovered that evening, and the accused was first identified, and it was based on the interrogation of the accused that the body was found. However, there was a first post-mortem done, and on the orders of the Calcutta High Court, a second post-mortem is being done at the AIIMS in Kalyani, in the presence of a magistrate, and the process will be videographed. This, of course, comes, as you know, in the backdrop of the Arjikar case, where there were questions about, post-mortem, preserving the body. But in this case, the police say that they'll go, of course, as exactly what the family says. And they've also, told the court that they had no problem to a post-mortem being done in any centrally governed institute. And that's why AIIMS Kalyani was chosen by the court, where the post-mortem will take place today.
Right, sort of very tragic news there regarding that student she was studying in class 4 and she was a 4th standard student who had gone to attend tuition classes on Friday afternoon. She, however, went missing on her way back home. So a second post-mortem has now been, in fact, demanded by the court. Moving on now, actor Siddique to appear before the Special Investigation Team in Trivandrum. The Special Investigation Team will question the actor in connection with the rape case, and that's expected about 11 o'clock this morning. The Malayalam actor, who was granted interim protection from arrest for 2 weeks by the Supreme Court on the 30th of last month. On Friday, the actor had sent an email to the SIT probing the sexual assault complaints against Malayalam film industry, expressing his willingness to appear for questioning. His defense team confirmed that the mail was sent on the 3rd of October. The actor mentioned in the communication that he is now ready to cooperate with the probe. Ishika joining us to get us more on this. Ishika, the actor has come forward in the case and willingly of his own has asked to be questioned by the SIT probing the matter.
Well, yes, certainly, Divya, one of the conditions of the anticipatory bail is, in fact, that you have to appear before the, investigating officer for the investigation. And thus, Siddique, in fact, himself wrote, to the police commissioner in Trivandrum to in fact call him for questioning, and that request was approved by the police, and today he will be appearing before the SIT in Trivandrum at around 11 a.m. is what we are getting to know. In fact, certainly we have seen in the past that when these Mollywood heavyweights against whom the complaints have been filed, they have been arrested also after questioning. But if that happens in this case as well, Siddique already has an anticipatory bail from the Supreme Court, so even he will be released. But certainly what we have seen so far from Siddique, regarding this entire matter, he has from day one said that this is just a conspiracy to defame him. He also, in fact, in all his pleas in the courts, in fact, he has questioned the stand of the complainant in the case. Now, how it becomes very, very significant here is that for this case, especially, a different SIT was again formed by, by the government here in Trivandrum, where in fact the Trivandrum police was heading this SIT. So, this case has been in the headlines from the very start. In fact, the entire Me Too movement, in Mollywood started after his resignation as the general secretary from the Amma Association. So it is a very significant development today. He will be appearing before the SIT at 11 a.m. and after that, certainly, it will be seen whether or not the police, in fact, is satisfied with the replies that he gives today. Over to you.
Right. Thank you so much, Ishika. We will keep tracking that story as that questioning is going to start at about 11 o'clock this morning. Switching tracks now, political parties huddle ahead of counting day in Jammu and Kashmir. It's the India bloc that's trying to ensure that they have the numbers as poll pundits give them the edge. But in Haryana, the Congress is focused on the challenge of fixing the CM's face, and it's anxious wait ahead of counting, which is going to be taking place tomorrow, the 8th of October. And we have Gurpreet joining us to get us more on this. Gurpreet, the big question... Of course, the big question being as to who will really be the face of the chief minister. That is really the big question, and the Congress is focused on dealing with that challenge when it comes to Haryana. And of course, Gurpreet, take us through the difficulty that the Congress is facing at the moment.
Well, we will talk about all the Haryana politics, and as of now we have seen the Chief Minister of Haryana, Naib Singh Saini, yesterday held a press conference where he has claimed the BJP government is going to be repeated in the state of Haryana, and Naib Singh Saini will be Chief Minister of the state because we have seen the former Chief Minister of Haryana, ML Khattar, he has already declared that they are going to make an announcement for Naib Singh Saini, and he was the Chief Ministerial face when the election had been started. Now, if we can talk about the Congress party, we have seen the Congress party has not declared any candidate as a Chief Ministerial face, and they say once they are going to get a majority, after that they will take opinion from all the elected MLAs and they are going to give their their opinion who will be the CM face. But we have seen, if we can talk about Haryana politics, heavyweight has been put behind the former Chief Minister of Haryana, Bhupinder Singh Hooda, because he was the one who was the main person who has picked up all the candidates from the various constituencies. So somewhere down the line, we have seen during this election campaign, there was some differences between Kumari Shailja and Bhupinder Singh Hooda, and at that time we have seen so many times repeatedly the party high command, they had given this statement saying that once the MLA will be elected and they will be getting mandate from people of Haryana, after that they will decide who will be the Chief Minister. So let's see, as of now it seems it's a challenge for the former Chief Minister of Haryana, Bhupinder Singh Hooda, and the Congress leaders also. But now if we can see the political calculation also, what we have learned, around 75 candidates are being taken by the former Chief Minister of Haryana, Bhupinder Singh Hooda. So if they are going to be elected and they are going to give opinion, definitely the former Chief Minister of Haryana, Bhupinder Singh, will be in a strong position, and he will be able to even put all these perspectives of all the MLAs before the party high command. But now the call which we have seen, whether it's the Kumari Shailja or the former Chief Minister of Haryana, Bhupinder Singh Hooda, the call will be taken by the party high command, and that is a challenge for the Congress. If the Congress is going to come as a majority within the state, and after that they will go to party high command, where they will where they will do marathon discussion about each and every aspect before electing any person as a Chief Minister of Haryana. So let's see, wait for some day. Once the result will be out, after that we will see how the Congress as well as the BJP are going to adopt a political strategy to pick up the candidate for the Chief Minister and who will be the Chief Minister of Haryana. Back to studio.
Right, Gurpreet, all eyes on who will be the new Chief Minister of Haryana. And of course, it is Bhupinder Hooda who has gone on to say that the people of Haryana have already chosen the Congress in a large majority. Let's listen in.
देखिए कर रही है कमबैक कांग्रेस पार्टी, और हमें विश्वास है कि हरियाणा में बड़े बहुमत के साथ लोगों ने कांग्रेस पार्टी को चुना है। भाजपा के 10 साल के कुशासन का अंत किया है, और जिस प्रकार से हमारे केंद्रीय नेतृत्व ने, राहुल जी ने जिस तरीके से मेहनत करी पूरे देश में और हरियाणा में भारत जोड़ो यात्रा के आए, उसी दिन हरियाणा में माहौल बनना लग गया था कांग्रेस पार्टी का, और कांग्रेस पार्टी बड़े भारी बहुमत से, आपको जब नतीजे आएंगे तब आप भी देखना। और ये जो एग्जिट पोल है, इन्होंने भी एक दिशा आपको दिखाई दी है, जब नतीजे आएंगे तो आपको पता चलेगा बड़े भारी बहुमत से कांग्रेस की सरकार बन रही है।
And it's an anxious wait ahead of counting that's going to be taking place in Jammu and Kashmir as well tomorrow. Counting for all 90 seats will be held across 20 districts. And of course, according to the exit polls that have predicted no party winning an absolute majority, even as it is the National Conference as well as the Congress Alliance that could be close to that magic number. Now, the opposition National Conference is expected to be that single largest party, and the BJP doing well in the Jammu region. So to get more on this, we have Nazir joining us. Nazir, the big question, of course, being that there perhaps is not going to be any single party with an absolute majority.
Well, that was perhaps clear from day one, given the way the things have shaped post delimitation of Jammu and Kashmir seats, assembly seats in Jammu and Kashmir, and the election and the political situation we see, and the number of political parties and the candidates. But having said that, it appears that number one, the independents, which was expected to do very well, win many seats, given the fact that their number was 40% candidates were independent, they may not have done well. Congress NC alliance is claiming that they will be very comfortably winning the majority and they will be forming the government. BJP on the other side is saying, look, they would be the single largest party, and with the help of independents, which they say around 15, will be, many of them are actually backed by what they are saying, backed by the BJP. They will be supporting them and they will form the government. And also there's also a tricky situation, which is the nomination of 5 members who will also be having the voting rights. So the Lieutenant Governor will be nominating them. So actually no prizes to guess who will they support, those nominated members. So many would say BJP is starting from 5 and the opposition is starting from the 0. So we have to see what happens, but these are anxious moments for all the parties. Tomorrow morning, by this time, we'll be there would be some clear indications who will be winning this election, which has happened after a gap of 10 years. which is the first election post abrogation of Article 370, completely new seats in terms of delimitation and also number of seats. And we have seen since last 2 days, there's a lot of outreach to the possible independent winners from all the sides, so that in case any formation falls short of the majority, they can woo those independents to form the government.
Right, of course. And it is also Farooq Abdullah who's saying that, the exit polls keep fluctuating. He's also gone on to say, but one thing is very clear, that the National Conference and the Congress will come to power with a big majority. Let's listen in.
मैंने एग्जिट पोल पे कुछ नहीं कहना। मैंने एग्जिट पोल पहले भी देखे हैं, कभी ऊंचा होता है, कभी नीचे होता है। 8 तारीख को सारा पोल आपके सामने आ जाएगा, बक्से खुलेंगे, पता लगेगा कौन कहाँ खड़ा है। अगर मेरे पास जादुई चिराग होता तो मैं उस जिन को लाता, कहता जिन बता कितने हम जीतेंगे, कितने वो जीतेंगे। मगर इतना जानता जरूर हूं कि इंशाल्लाह नेशनल कॉन्फ्रेंस और कांग्रेस बहुत अच्छे आ जाएगी, बहुमत से आ जाएगी।
And switching tracks now to, in fact, let's get you the latest, as today marks the 1 year since the Hamas attack on Israel. The Israel-Gaza war continues with no end in sight. A year of devastation, a grim tally as far as the carnage in Gaza conflict that's expanded in the Middle East, with Israel targeting more areas now. It is more strikes that have been reported since yesterday. Iran hits back at Israel's ironclad defense, but will the United States manage to broker peace is what needs to be seen, as today marks the 1 year anniversary of the October 7th attacks by Hamas on Israel, the day that has changed the Middle East forever. As the nation reflects on this somber milestone, tensions continue to escalate on multiple fronts. In response to the attacks, Israel launched extensive military operations, including heavy bombing raids in both Gaza and Lebanon. The possibility of retaliatory airstrikes against Iran also looms large. Flight restrictions that were lifted early this morning at about 6 o'clock.
Israel is marking the first anniversary of the October 7th Hamas attack that prompted the nation's strongest response in decades. Immediately after the attack, the IDF launched airstrikes and a ground invasion in Gaza aimed at dismantling Hamas that continues to this day. A year later, Israel's war with Gaza has spread, creating a dangerous regional crisis. What began as a localized conflict between Israel and Hamas has transformed into a multi-front war. The involvement of key regional players, notably Iran, has heightened tensions, particularly following its recent ballistic missile strike on Israeli targets. Israel is now facing a war from 7 different fronts. The fighting in Gaza remains one of the most significant fronts. Israeli airstrikes continue to target Hamas infrastructure, while ground operations have led to significant casualties. Meanwhile, 97 out of the 250 Israeli hostages captured by Hamas on October 7th are still held in Gaza, with many feared dead. The initial war between Israel and Hamas has seen major escalation with neighboring countries such as Iran. 6 months into the war, tensions grew between Israel and Iran after Iran rained down missiles on Israel in response to Tel Aviv striking the Iranian consulate in Syria. Hamas's top leader Ismail Haniyeh was also killed in Israeli strikes. Last month, Israel struck Lebanese militant group Hezbollah in an attack that saw around 5,000 pagers and radios detonating. As Israel launched its ground invasion in Beirut, Hezbollah fired a barrage of rockets towards Israel. The IDF claims Hezbollah militants have fired over 10,000 rockets across the border since October 8th. Hezbollah strikes have struck deeper into Israeli territory than they have done in any other recent attacks. Schools have closed in many northern areas of Israel, and gatherings have been restricted. The war in Lebanon and Gaza now threatens to spread further after Iran fired nearly 200 missiles at Israel on October 1st. Iran stated that this attack was a response to the killings of Hezbollah leader Nasrallah and Hamas political leader Hanaya. As tensions continue to rise, both Iran and the international community are preparing for a possible Israeli retaliation in the wake of the massive missile strikes and a fear of a growing regional war. Samia Afsar for NDTV World.
Well, news coming in. This is breaking news coming in of the Enforcement Directorate raids that are taking place. These are raids that are taking place on the Aam Aadmi Party leader, is what Manish Sisodia has gone on to say. So, breaking news coming in at the moment of ED raids which are taking place in Punjab. These are ED raids on the Aam Aadmi Party Rajya Sabha MP, and ED raids that are taking place in Punjab, in Ludhiana as well as in Jalandhar. So these raids that are taking place, breaking news coming in of these raids that have taken place, and it is Manish Sisodia who's gone on to say that the Prime Minister's agencies are engaged with full dedication in creating fake cases one after the other. These people will go to any extent to break the Aam Aadmi Party, but no matter how much they try, the Aam Aadmi Party will neither stop nor sell out, nor get scared. That is what Manish Sisodia has gone on to say, reacting to these fresh ED raids that are taking place against another Aam Aadmi Party leader. Of course, it is Manish Sisodia who's gone on to react to this, saying that, it is the Aam Aadmi Party who will not get scared, who, of course, will continue their work. It is the, work of the agencies, calling them the work of the agencies that are being now used as a tool against the Aam Aadmi Party. Of course, another ED attack when it comes to the Aam Aadmi Party. We're talking about the Aam Aadmi Party Rajya Sabha MP Sanjeev Arora. Case of acquiring land through fraud is what is being reported as far as those raids are concerned. So another Aam Aadmi Party leader who has been raided early this morning, and these are raids that have taken place in Punjab. In fact, in Ludhiana, these raids have been taking place. This is Manish Sisodia who has made a big claim. He has said that today again the Prime Minister has again, done this to the Aam Aadmi Party, where they are really looking for something where nothing exists, and these are just fake stories, political vendetta again that is being claimed by the Aam Aadmi Party in regard to the Enforcement Directorate's raids in Ludhiana and Jalandhar. So the Enforcement Directorate's officials reached the residence of this Aam Aadmi Party leader. Raids are being conducted in Ludhiana as well as Jalandhar. A case of acquiring land through fraud is what is being reported. So it is Manish Sisodia who is reacting to this. He has gone on to say that the Aam Aadmi Party will not be scared, they will not sell out, and that they will not back down. These are, of course, tactics of the centre, calling all these agencies, whether it's the ED or the CBI, nothing but a mere tool when it comes to the hands of the centre and the Prime Minister, and that the Prime Minister's agencies are working with full dedication in order, focusing on the opposition, focusing on the Aam Aadmi Party, with yet another leader who has now been raided by the Enforcement Directorate. And let's now switch tracks to Amit Shah, the Union Home Minister, who will be reviewing the security situation on the Maoist-affected states with the Chief Ministers of 8 states. According to that statement, it is the Chief Ministers of Andhra Pradesh, Bihar, Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand, Telangana, Odisha, Maharashtra and Madhya Pradesh will attend the meeting that's going to be taking place in the national capital. This comes after 31 Maoists were recently killed. This is in an area that was considered a Maoist stronghold and a key focus area in the fight against Naxalism, in the single largest encounter in the history of Chhattisgarh. To get more on this, we have Aishwarya joining us. Aishwarya, a very crucial meeting coming up in regard to the security and safety when it comes to particularly these Maoist affected areas.
Well, certainly a very high-level meeting and a review meeting by Union Home Minister, meeting 7 chief ministers of the left-wing extremism hit areas of the country. Certainly, we have seen in the backdrop of 31 Maoists being killed in Chhattisgarh, Dantewada's area, and particularly in that particular region, the Union Home Minister had also stated that more forces have been sent, and it is the target of Government of India to complete completely eradicate the left-wing extremism from the country by March 2026, and therefore the reason perhaps strategies are being formed by different state chief ministers and state governments as well, whether there should be more forces that should be deployed in this region, and how should there should be a dialogue with these groups so that they can put their arms and come back to join the mainstream. So far we have been told by 2024 the government of India had released the data, and it clearly stated that there has been unprecedented success by the security forces and elimination of almost 202 armed LWE cadres till now, and also 732 left-wing extremism cadres had surrendered, and more than 812 have been arrested in the first 9 months of the 2024 as well. We've been told also that more than 14,400 kilometer of roads had been constructed in this area, and almost 600 mobile towers had also been established in such an area where the forces were unable to go in the past as well. So the strategy had been prepared for so long, and LWI violence had come down by 72% is something that the government has also released. 86% decline in the deaths because of the left-wing extremism in the entire country, and therefore the reason the fight in this battle is currently on of the government of India. And today the Union Home Minister is taking a review and also forming a strategy with 7 chief ministers, including the Chief Minister of Chhattisgarh as well, who is in the national capital. Very shortly at 10 a.m. at Vigyan Bhavan in Delhi, the meeting will start, and the strategy will be prepared as to how to eradicate the entire LWE terrorism in the country by March 2026. That's the target of Government of India.
Right. Thank you so much, Aishwarya, for getting us all those details. Moving on now, a big win for India in the Women's T20 World Cup. India won by 6 wickets versus Pakistan. This is the maiden victory as far as India is concerned in the T20 World Cup. India wins by 6 wickets versus Pakistan. India chased down a total of 106 in the 18th over, with India registering its maiden win in the tournament.
The Indian women were under pressure, having endured a loss in their opening encounter of the T20 World Cup versus New Zealand, and they chose to put Pakistan under the pump, pacer Renuka striking in the opening over. Pakistan succumbed to the bounce of the pitch. They failed to capitalize on the power play and were 33 for 3 by the 7th over, Sohail miscuing the ball to Shafali Verma. Muniba Ali, looking for the release shot after being pinned down for a while, was deceived by Shriyanka Patil. This catch by Richa Ghosh would be replayed over and over. A one-handed stunner that had the arch-rivals down to 6 for 17. Pakistan did have a mini comeback, but Harmanpreet's team kept them on a tight leash. India had run out of time in the final over that was full of drama. Nida Dar was wrapped on the pad. Pakistan finished with a score of 105 for 8 in 20 overs. Chasing 106 in Dubai in front of a near-packed stadium, India lost Smriti Mandana cheaply and were 25 for 1 at the end of the power play. This was a release shot from Shafali Verma, the first of the inning, coming in the 8th over, Pakistan making India work for every run. India needed not just a win, but a big win to survive in the group of death in the T20 World Cup. Shafali Verma was gone after an uncharacteristic knock of 32 with a strike rate less than 100. The excitement of the game was further amped by 2 back-to-back wickets of Jemima Rodrigues and Richa Ghosh, Pakistan's young captain, doing the damage. India was under pressure to close out the game. Even though boundaries were hard to come, Indian batters were running hard. Captain Harmanpreet scored 29. Before retiring hurt, the skipper hurt herself while trying to get back to the crease. The win came in the penultimate over, India sealing the match versus Pakistan by 6 wickets.
I've been been reporting on all issues big and small from Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, rest of South India, bringing you all the action, all that you need to know, all that you want to know.
The energy of Maximum City is infectious. I bring in that energy in our news coverage from financial capital Mumbai.
India's IT capital is always buzz. It's literally a city that never sleeps. And I keep you ahead on all the Bengaluru buzz.
Covering from the southernmost part of India over the last 23 years, I bring in-depth and 360-degree coverage from the Dravidian heartland.
The land of Mishti is also known for its bitter politics. I have seen much water flow under the Howrah Bridge, covering Bengal in all its vivid colors.
New day, new show, a new experience.
Start your day with the news, not views.
We bring you stories that matter
and impact your life.
News that informs and keeps you ahead. From Maximum City, Mumbai,
to the seat of power, Delhi,
NDTV brings you the best breakfast show. Breakfast news on NDTV, 8 a.m. every day.
कि जिसकी सरकार सेंटर में हुई है उसी की सरकार प्रदेश में होती है।
एंटी इनकम्बेंसी को कैसे देख रहे हैं? इनकम्बेंसी नहीं है,
प्रो इनकम्बेंसी।
कांग्रेस आ रही है, भाजपा जा रही है।
Congress is going to form the government in Haryana with a big majority.
From the heart of city in Beirut, a city which is scarred by violence and caught between the crossfire between Israel and Hezbollah. A war which started a year ago between Israel and Hamas has now spilled over to Lebanon. NDTV is on the ground to bring latest updates, in-depth analysis and how the evolving war has impacted this country. Stay tuned for latest updates.
NDTV World Summit 2024, October 21st and 22nd, only on NDTV Network. Stay informed and entertained with the new and updated NDTV News app. You can watch all our channels live, listen to podcasts, read breaking and exclusive news from around the world and more. Download the NDTV app today and get access to the best journalism and storytelling on your smartphone or tablet. The NDTV app. News that matters to you.
I've been reporting on all issues big and small from Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, rest of South India, bringing you all the action, all that you need to know, all that you want to know.
The energy of Maximum City is in.
Watching NDTV 24x7, I'm Parmeshwar Bafa. We've got an action-packed bulletin lined up for you over the next 1 hour. Let's begin with the top stories you need to know. A day meant to mark a moment of national pride for the Indian Air Force turned into a nightmare at Chennai's Marina Beach when a crowd of more than 12 lakh people surged towards exits, leaving 3 dead and many hospitalized. The Tamil Nadu government claims adequate medical arrangements were made based on Air Force's demands. In the Maldives Me Too moment, actor Siddiqui reaches Kerala Police Chief's office. In a short while from now, a special investigation team is expected to question the actor. The Calcutta High Court, in a specially convened hearing on Sunday, has ordered a second post-mortem of the body of the schoolgirl who was allegedly raped and murdered in South 24 Parganas. And political parties huddle ahead of counting day in Jammu and Kashmir. The India bloc try to ensure they have the numbers as poll pundits give them the edge. In Haryana, the Congress focuses
on the challenge of fixing a chief minister face. And it's been a year since Israel and Hamas war broke out. Israel bombs targets in Lebanon in the last 24 hours, and Gaza IDF sounds sirens around the entire enclave. NDTV reports from the epicenter of the Middle East conflict. My colleague Mohamed reports from Beirut in Lebanon, where attacks have escalated over the past few weeks. A ceremonial welcome for the Maldives president as he touches down for a bilateral meeting. Up next is a bilateral meeting with the Prime Minister. Well, our big focus, a day meant to mark a moment of national pride for the Indian Air Force, turned into a nightmare at Chennai's Marina Beach when a crowd of more than 12 lakh people surged towards exits, leaving about 3 people dead and many hospitalized. The October 6th air show, held to commemorate the IAF's 92nd anniversary, was the first such event in Chennai in over 2 decades. But what was intended to be a spectacle of military aviation ended in chaos as the sheer size of the crowd overwhelmed both the organizers and local authorities, it seems. Now, questions are being raised over the Indian Air Force aggressively pushing this event to set a Limca Book of World Record by aiming to mobilize about 15 lakh spectators, much beyond manageable, and the Chennai City Police's poor crowd and traffic management. Well, for further clarity, we have with us former IPS officer Sanjay Sahai. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us on NDTV. Now, sir, while the state government had anticipated a large crowd, in fact, initial estimates suggest around 10 lakh people were expected. The actual turnout, as we've seen, exceeded even those expectations. At this stage, sir, who is to blame?
So we'll get into the blame game later. First, what I would like to bring to the audience is whether we had the capability of handling that nature of a crowd. So the expected crowd, as per news reports, was around 15 lakhs. And if the 15 lakhs was the expected crowd and arrangements were made accordingly, then why did all the arrangements fail like a pack of cards? So 2-3 issues are there in question. One is Indian Air Force asking for arrangements for 12 lakh people or 15 lakh people. They are well within their rights to ask for that nature of arrangement. Whether the Chennai Traffic Police, Chennai Police and the state government would be in a position to allow that sort of a crowd or not, that call has to be taken by the state government. And more often than not, when there are prestigious events, the governments go out of the way to accommodate. They can accommodate in principle, they can accommodate on paper. But when it comes to the critical infrastructure, you cannot accommodate beyond the infrastructure. So the infrastructure of the road, infrastructure of your transit system, and also your capability to evacuate and provide access ways in case of emergency. Those are very, very critical. The most critical part in this whole exercise, though it looks very, very coordinated and on the face of it, the Chennai Corporation and all other agencies, the Chennai Madras Traffic Police, and there will be large number of agencies. So generally, what happens is that they don't work in tandem and they do their part in whichever manner they feel like. And the crowd gathering starts. When the crowd gathers, it looks everything very fine and hunky-dory. But as things move forward, and there's a huge amount of crowd which finally accumulates, it becomes difficult to handle.
Right.
The parking areas were uncoordinated. People had to walk for 2, 3, 4 kilometers, which is the expected thing. And I think the most important factor which goes beyond whatever has already been factored in is the heat and humidity in that particular area. And the heat and humidity had a toll. And most of the shops were closed. Water and other arrangements had run dry. So we are in a typical crowd mismanagement situation, which looks very, very neat and coordinated on the face of it. But when it is executed on the ground, it literally fails us. So that is broadly where we are. So primarily the reasons may be, one is the huge crowd, which was anticipated and which the state government claims that they had factored in. On the ground, it does not seem that it was factored in. Second, the infrastructure, whether our mass transit infrastructure, road infrastructure, parking capability, whether it could take a crowd of 12 lakhs, whatever we see in the visual, certainly it was not in a position to take a crowd of 10 lakh, 12 lakh, 15 lakh people. Whether the Indian Air Force was looking for a record in Limca Book of Records, is a different thing altogether, and they cannot be blamed for that because they have projected the numbers which would finally gather. And whenever we make any bandobast arrangement, 15 to 20% more than the number, what is expected or anticipated by the organizers, that we take care. There was no evacuation plan, and if I have read correctly, ambulances were stuck up, and there are lot number of people who were in a very desperate situation.
We are
There
seeing
are
those
also
reports as
reports
well. In
which
fact,
say,
sir, I sincerely apologize, I'm cutting you through, but I'd like to inform our viewers that we have news coming in. The updated death toll from this absolute chaotic situation is now 5. 5 people have unfortunately lost their lives. But as Mr. Sahai is mentioning, traffic authorities seem to be unprepared to manage this sort of mass exodus. Ambulances were not able to reach the designated spots on time when the chaos started ensuing. The congestion built up around Marina Beach. Sir, would you say this entire paralyzed movement, you think the lack of adequate transportation also added to this confusion?
no, I don't think it's the lack of adequate transportation. It is the lack of passageway for the transport, which should work in a crisis situation. For example, ambulance. For example, if you want to do evacuation. Now, all those things, I find that they were non-existent. So transportation was available. It was not ready there, and it could not be used. Whether it was a private transportation or public transportation or government vehicles and other things, all those things are generally available. That is not the issue. The issue is whether they could find their way, and also the issue is whether the people who wanted to move out could conveniently move out even while walking.
But sir, would you say that the administration essentially appeared woefully underprepared?
It was underprepared. On paper, it was fine. But when it was being executed, they realized that the magnitude of the whole issue was much beyond what they had anticipated at the operational level.
Right.
I still would give them credit to visualize that, okay, 12 lakh can be managed. But when 12 lakh is put together in a small area and the entry and exit part is completely out of their control. There were police guys who were like bystanders, and they were forced to act a couple of times. So the entry part, you see, for 12 lakhs ran nearly fine, but the exit part did not run fine. And when there was crisis, people they did not know where to go, what to do, and they did not know from where to escape. If you remember, we had this Hathras stampede, I think, couple of months back. So that happened because the arrangements were not there and the local host allowed it to happen. But this has happened at the highest level with the state government accepting the responsibility and all other agencies accepting the responsibility. How much of the coordination, interagency coordination or crowd management was there or not? And unfortunately, whenever a crisis happens, only then we talk of crowd management. In India, crowd management is a daily issue. From Chandni Chowk to whichever area you talk about, and every day we'll add into such issues.
It is unfortunate that we only bring up these topics once there is some sort of tragic incident that comes to the fore. But we will wait for state officials to investigate the matter and wait for a report from the state officials. Thank you so much, sir, as always, for making time for us and joining us with your perspective. With that, let's turn our attention now to the other big story we're tracking. The Maldives president has touched down in India for a bilateral visit. Mohamed Muizzu, accompanied by First Lady Sajida Mohamed, they are in India for the crucial state visit that is aimed at mending diplomatic relations between the two South Asian nations. Now, during this visit, President Muizzu will hold meetings with President Draupadi Murmu and Prime Minister Modi and other senior officials as well. But in an interview ahead of his visit, President Muizzu assured that his country would never do anything that undermines the security of India. In fact, I must also bring to your attention that earlier when he was brought into office, he was considered a pro-China leaning leader. There was also back and forth about a a bit of a, let's say, a hiccup in India and Maldives relations. And this visit is happening in the backdrop of that. My colleague Vishnu Shom has the latest details for you.
This is an effort by the Maldivian President Mohamed Muizzu to reset relations between India and the Maldives. It comes after the relations between the two sides took a real hit after the president came to power on an anti-India or go home India plank. The go home referred primarily to Indian military personnel who were operating 3 aircraft that India had donated to the Maldives for search and rescue, medical assistance, and the like. India has made it clear that the Maldives and India have a huge relationship. It's an old relationship. And therefore, to see Indian military personnel deployed for peaceful purposes being asked to leave was something which was rather odd for New Delhi. At the same time, New Delhi did believe that President Muizzu's choice of Beijing first ahead for his first state visit before he came to India was also something which was quite peculiar. But there's been an effort by the Maldives now to reach out to the Indian leadership. We've seen President Muizzu come over here some time back when Prime Minister Modi was re-elected to power. There have been statements coming from the Maldives and India as well that as far as security is concerned, India's security, the Maldives will not compromise that. They do have a Maldives first strategy, but that doesn't come at the cost of India. The Maldives do recognize the importance of India as an economic powerhouse in the region, and they do realize the importance of India's contribution to various economic and infrastructure development programs. So there'll be a meeting with Prime Minister Modi today at 11:15 this morning. There'll be a meeting with the President as well. It's a 4 to 5 day visit of President Mohamed Muizzu, and one that we expect will fully reset that equation.
In other news now, to Mollywood's Me Too moment. Well, in a short while from now, a special investigation team is expected to question actor Siddiqui. He's reached the Kerala police office, is what we're told. In fact, in a moment from now, he's going to be questioned. He was implicated because of a rape case that has been filed against him, and a special investigation team will now interrogate the film actor in connection with this rape case. This decision follows Siddiqui's agreement to appear for questioning, which he emailed to the probe team. In fact, the investigation is supposed to start at 11 a.m. at the police commissioner's office in Thiruvananthapuram. The interrogation, I must inform you, is likely to continue for the next 3 to 4 days. But back in August, the museum police in Thiruvananthapuram filed a rape case against Siddiq after receiving a complaint from a female actor. The young actor filed her complaint against him following the release of the Hema Committee report. Let's turn our attention now to the Israel and Hamas war completing a year. In fact, multiple blasts have shaken the southern suburbs of Lebanon's capital, Beirut, amid Israeli airstrikes on the night before the anniversary of the 7th October Hamas attacks against Israel. In fact, powerful explosions were seen across Beirut. A retaliatory attack was also seen in Israel's Haifa, where 5 people are reported to have been injured. A Hezbollah rocket attack had fallen in Haifa. That is Israel's 3rd largest city, and Israel has been on high alert on this occasion of the war completing a year. But Israel bombarded Beirut in what appears to be one of the heaviest assaults yet on the Lebanese capital. It's also the first time residents in Israel's Haifa have seen missiles fall inside the city. The attack on Haifa is particularly dangerous as the city hosts not only a naval base but also a chemical industry. The impact of war has been devastating on both ends. Here's our report.
Israel is marking the first anniversary of the October 7th Hamas attack that prompted the nation's strongest response in decades. Immediately after the attack, the IDF launched airstrikes and a ground invasion in Gaza aimed at dismantling Hamas that continues to this day. A year later, Israel's war with Gaza has spread, creating a dangerous regional crisis. What began as a localized conflict between Israel and Hamas has transformed into a multi-front war. The involvement of key regional players, notably Iran, has heightened tensions, particularly following its recent ballistic missile strike on Israeli targets. Israel is now facing a war from 7 different fronts. The fighting in Gaza remains one of the most significant fronts. Israeli airstrikes continue to target Hamas infrastructure, while ground operations have led to significant casualties. Meanwhile, 97 out of the 250 Israeli hostages captured by Hamas on October 7th are still held in Gaza, with many feared dead. The initial war between Israel and Hamas has seen major escalation with neighboring countries such as Iran. 6 months into the war, tensions grew between Israel and Iran after Iran rained down missiles on Israel in response to Tel Aviv striking the Iranian consulate in Syria. Hamas's top leader Ismail Haniyeh was also killed in Israeli strikes. Last month, Israel struck Lebanese militant group Hezbollah in an attack that saw around 5,000 pagers and radios detonating. As Israel launched its ground invasion in Beirut, Hezbollah fired a barrage of rockets towards Israel. The IDF claims Hezbollah militants have fired over 10,000 rockets across the border since October 8th. Hezbollah strikes have struck deeper into Israeli territory than they have done in any other recent attacks. Schools have closed in many northern areas of Israel, and gatherings have been restricted. The war in Lebanon and Gaza now threatens to spread further after Iran fired nearly 200 missiles at Israel on October 1st. Iran stated that this attack was a response to the killings of Hezbollah leader Nasrallah and Hamas political leader Haniyeh. As tensions continue to rise, both Iran and the international community are preparing for a possible Israeli retaliation in the wake of the massive missile strikes and a fear of a growing regional war. Samia Afsar for NDTV World.
What has happened since is nothing short of a global tragedy. It's been a year of the Hamas attack on Israel. It's been a year since Israel erupted and began this war in Gaza. The families, though, are remembering the victims a year later. In fact, loved ones mourn victims and survivors and shared their stories. And the last track from the Nova Music Festival played again as families remember victims a year later. Let's turn our attention now to West Bengal. After a middle-aged woman was allegedly abducted and raped and murdered in Patashpur in East Midnapur district, the main accused in the case has also been lynched by a mob in a case of street justice. The family of the deceased woman claims that the incident took place on the 4th of October when the middle-aged victim went to graze cows and goats in the fields behind her house. In fact, from there, she was allegedly picked up by some people, and later the woman was later found naked. Allegedly, poison was poured on her face. Saurabh Gupta has the lowdown for you.
It seems to have been a case of street justice against someone who was accused of allegedly assaulting a woman and also, being, responsible for her death. At least that was the suspicion. And in this context, there was an angry mob, that gathered and stormed the house of the person whom they believed to be the accused. And then, of course, he was dragged out and beaten by a mob. And you can see in the video that he's being repeatedly struck by, sticks that are being wielded by the mob, comprising largely of women. Now, this followed, of course, the anger against the incident that had taken place earlier, where a woman's body, was recovered from the field nearby where she had gone to graze her cattle. And this incident, of course, led to or the belief that this person was the accused behind that incident led to this mob lynching incident in which, what we're being given to understand is that the person who was lynched by the mob has also died. And also, of course, earlier, the incident over which this anger actually erupted, in that case, of course, the woman, the middle-aged woman, also died.
Meanwhile, the Calcutta High Court, in a specially convened hearing, has ordered a second post-mortem of the body of the schoolgirl who was allegedly raped and murdered in South 24 Parganas. Justice Tirthankar Ghosh of the Calcutta High Court, hearing a petition filed by the girl's parents, directed that the second post-mortem be conducted at AIMS Hospital in Kalyani today. In fact, Justice Ghosh also questioned why the POCSO Act had not been applied despite the allegation of sexual assault. Saurabh Gupta has more on this.
It seems to have been a case of street justice against someone who was accused of allegedly assaulting a woman and also, being, responsible for her death. At least that was the suspicion. And in this context, there was an angry mob, that gathered and stormed the house of the person whom they believed to be the accused. And then, of course, he was dragged out and beaten by a mob. And you can see in the video that he's being repeatedly struck by, sticks that are being wielded by the mob, comprising largely of women. Now, this followed, of course, the anger against the incident that had taken place earlier, where a woman's body, was recovered from the field nearby where she had gone to graze her cattle. And this incident, of course, led to or the belief that this person was the accused behind that incident led to this mob lynching incident in which, what we're being given to understand is that the person who was lynched by the mob has also died. And also, of course, earlier, the incident over which this anger actually erupted. In that case, of course, the woman, the middle-aged woman, also died.
And let's get you a quick update as far as elections are concerned. It's an anxious wait ahead of counting in Jammu and Kashmir. Counting for all the 90 seats will be held across 20 districts. The exit polls have predicted no party winning an absolute majority, even as the NC Congress alliance could be close to the magic number. Opposition National Conference is expected to be the single largest party, and the BJP is doing well in the Jammu region. But political parties are huddling ahead of counting day. In Jammu and Kashmir, the India bloc are trying to ensure they have the numbers as poll pundits give them the edge. But in Haryana, the Congress is focusing on the challenge of fixing a chief minister face. Listen in to the reactions we have lined up for you from both the battlegrounds.
देखिए कर रही है कमबैक कांग्रेस पार्टी और हमें विश्वास है कि हरियाणा में बड़े बहुमत के साथ लोगों ने कांग्रेस पार्टी को चुना है। भाजपा के 10 साल के कुशासन का अंत किया है और जिस प्रकार से हमारे केंद्रीय नेतृत्व ने, राहुल जी ने जिस तरीके से मेहनत करी पूरे देश में और हरियाणा में भारत जोड़ो यात्रा के आए, उसी दिन हरियाणा में माहौल बनना लग गया था कांग्रेस पार्टी का। और कांग्रेस पार्टी बड़े भारी बहुमत से, आपको जब नतीजे आएंगे तब आप भी देखना। और ये जो एग्जिट पोल है, इन्होंने भी एक दिशा आपको दिखाई दी है। जब नतीजे आएंगे तो आपको पता चलेगा, बड़े भारी बहुमत से कांग्रेस की सरकार बन रही है।
My colleague Gurpreet Chinna is tracking the latest developments for us. He joins us live at the moment. Gurpreet, the exit polls of the Haryana Assembly elections have painted a decisive picture indicating a clear return to power for the Congress party in the state after almost a decade.
Well, yes, we have seen the exit poll trend. They are already indicating Congress can come back into power in the state of Haryana. But at the same time, we have seen the Chief Minister of Haryana, Naib Singh Saini, he held a press conference where he has claimed that the government is coming back in Haryana and BJP will perform much better. They have also said that it seems the Congress will then create a question over this EVM machines. So now if we add, as of now, if we can go by the exit poll, we can see that there are indication Congress will be able to come back into power and they will be able to get the power in the state of Haryana. But at the same time, we have seen the BJP government and specifically the Chief Minister of Haryana, Naib Singh Saini, he has been making a lot of claim saying that third time they are going to get mandate from people of Haryana. So let's wait for the result. Once the result will be out, after that things will be clear. But yes, of course, we have seen, even we have traveled a lot in the elections also, we have seen there was an anti-incumbency against the government. We have seen the farmer issue was prominently taken place, center stage in this whole Haryana polls, and at the same time we have seen the restless issue that was also one of the major political issue in the state of Haryana. But now we have seen for the Congress, if the Congress is going to get a mandate from Haryana, then there will be challenges for pick up as a chief minister from this Haryana. We have seen so many times, we have seen the chief minister of Haryana, Bhupinder Singh Hooda, says once the MLA will be elected, after that the party high command is going to take a final call on who will be the chief minister Minister of Haryana and who will hold the reins of this power within the state. So let's wait for results. Once the result will be out, we will be able to understand how the challenge before the Congress is who will be the Chief Minister. As of now, what we have learned, the party high command had already put huge weight behind the former Chief Minister of Haryana, Bhupinder Singh Hooda, because a lot of candidates were being picked up by the former Chief Minister of Haryana. So somewhere down the lane, it seems they will definitely vote for the Chief Minister for Haryana, Bhupinder Singh Hooda, as the suitable candidate for the Haryana state. But that will be clear once the result will be out, and then how many Congress will have MLA and how many are going to lobbying for the former Chief Minister of Haryana, Bhupinder Singh Hooda. Back to studio.
Gurpreet, thanks so much for joining us with that quick update. We will, of course, revert to you for regular updates. Also joining us, Nazir Masoodi from Battleground Jammu and Kashmir. Nazir, ahead of the election results, political parties in Jammu and Kashmir have actually expressed concerns over Manoj Sinha, the Lieutenant Governor's power to nominate 5 legislators to the otherwise 90-member Assembly of the UT?
Well, that's part of the constitutional scheme of things as far as the legislature in the Union Territory is concerned, as far as this legislature has been formed under the Union Territory. So that's not something unusual, and they should not be cribbing about that, but that's how the things are. They may change once the state is Jammu and Kashmir restored as a state, and it would be governed by the way other states are done. But having said that, all are waiting for the results tomorrow, who will win and who will lose. And Congress National Conference Alliance is already saying they will get a comfortable majority. The other signs from the PDP-like parties who may not win many seats, but have clearly indicated that in case the formation falls short of majority, they will support them. BJP on the other side is clearly saying that they will be the single largest party and will be backed by the independent candidates. It's anybody's guess how many seats independents will get and if they play any key role in the formation of next government. But all eyes for the counting tomorrow. We'll have to wait. Till then, it's all speculations and claims and counterclaims.
As always, Nazir, thanks so much for joining us. We will, of course, revert to you for full updates as its results day tomorrow. Let's turn our attention now to the crackdown on Red Terror. In fact, the Home Minister's Security Review meeting took place. Amit Shah met chief ministers of Maoist-hit states. He chaired this review meeting, and in 2024, it's been declared that there were 202 Maoist militants killed by the forces. This year alone, 723 Maoist cadre have surrendered, and this meet took place days after Maoists were killed in Chhattisgarh. In fact, over 30 Maoists have been killed recently. Amit Shah reviewed the security situation of the Maoist-affected states with the chief ministers of 8 states. Well, news and updates continue, as always, here on NDTV 24x7. For now, we're slipping into a very short break. Don't go anywhere.
Hello, Moto.
Motorola Edge 50 Pro, world's first AI-powered pro-grade camera.
New day, new show, a new experience.
Start your day with the news, not views.
We bring you stories that matter
and impact your life.
News that informs and keeps you ahead.
From maximum city, Mumbai,
to the seat of power, Delhi,
NDTV brings you the best breakfast show.
breakfast news on NDTV, 8 a.m. every day.
कि जिसकी सरकार सेंटर में हुई है उसी की सरकार प्रदेश में होती है।
एंटी इनकम्बेंसी को कैसे देख रहे हैं? इनकम्बेंसी नहीं है,
प्रो इनकम्बेंसी।
कांग्रेस आ रही है, भाजपा जा रही है।
Congress is going to form the government in Haryana with a big majority.
From the heart of city in Beirut, a city which is scarred by violence and caught between the crossfire between Israel and Hezbollah. A war which started a year ago between Israel and Hamas has now spilled over to Lebanon. NDTV is on the ground to bring latest updates, in-depth analysis, and how the evolving war has impacted this country. Stay tuned for latest updates.
NDTV World Summit 2024, October 21st and 22nd, only on NDTV Network. Stay informed and entertained with the new and updated NDTV News app. You can watch all our channels live, listen to podcasts, read breaking and exclusive news from around the world and more. Download the NDTV app today and get access to the best journalism and storytelling on your smartphone or tablet. The NDTV app. News that matters to you.
I've been reporting on all issues big and small from Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, rest of South India, bringing you all the action, all that you need to know, all that you want to know.
The energy of maximum city is infectious. I bring in that energy in our news coverage from financial capital Mumbai.
India's IT capital is always buzz. It's literally a city that never sleeps. And I keep you ahead on all the Bengaluru buzz.
Covering from the southernmost part of India over the last 23 years, I bring in-depth and 360-degree coverage from the Dravidian heartland.
The land of Mishti is also known for its bitter politics. I have seen much water flow under the Howrah Bridge, covering Bengal in all its vivid colors.
New day, new show, a new experience.
start your day with the news, not views.
We bring you stories that matter
and impact your life.
News that informs and keeps you ahead.
From maximum city, Mumbai,
to the seat of power, Delhi,
NDTV brings you the best breakfast show.
breakfast news on NDTV, 8 a.m. every day.
कि जिसकी सरकार सेंटर में हुई है उसी की सरकार प्रदेश में होती है।
एंटी इनकम्बेंसी को कैसे देख रहे हैं? इनकम्बेंसी नहीं है,
प्रो इनकम्बेंसी।
कांग्रेस आ रही है, भाजपा जा रही है।
Congress is going to form the government in Haryana with a big majority.
Hello, Moto.
Motorola Edge 50 Pro, world's first AI-powered pro-grade camera.
Well, our big focus, Israel is preparing to hold memorials today to mark the first anniversary of the October 7 attacks by Hamas, a day that changed the region forever. Tensions continue to escalate on multiple fronts as we've been reporting. Israel bombarded Beirut in what appeared to be its heaviest assault yet on the Lebanese capital on the eve of the one-year anniversary of Hamas's October 7 attack. The airstrikes aimed at dismantling Iran-backed Hezbollah displaced yet more civilians in Lebanon, where an estimated 1.2 million people have already left their homes. Israel has also intensified attacks in Gaza a year after Hamas's attack. Israel now seems on the brink of war with Iran while locked in a bitter conflict in Gaza. Experts argue that few Israelis or Palestinians believe it will end anytime soon, but security across Israel is heightened with officials on alert for any attacks timed to coincide with the anniversary. Meanwhile, in Iran, airports announced the cancellation of flights over the weekend, a move seen as a precaution against potential Israeli airstrikes targeting Iranian military or nuclear facilities. Now, although those flight restrictions were later lifted after confirming safety conditions, the tension in the region remains palpable. In fact, as we speak, the Biden administration in the United States looks increasingly unable to limit either Israel's brinkmanship with Iran or its ground operations against the militias in Gaza and Lebanon that Tehran supports. The world is closely hoping for stability amidst rising unrest. Here are the finer details. Take a look at the recap of a year in war.
A year since militant group Hamas launched an unprecedented cross-border attack on Israel on October 7, 2023, West Asia is on the brink of an all-out war. Hamas's assault various kibbutz at the Nova Music Festival killed 1,200 Israelis and took 250 hostages. Israel's subsequent retaliation triggered a year of devastation and turmoil across the region and the world. "365 days since the attack, 105 hostages have returned to Israel, while 72 have been killed.
This is my father, he's still in captivity, and we don't know anything about him since then.
Including 3 killed accidentally by IDF forces operating in Gaza. 97 hostages continue to remain in Hamas's captivity in Gaza even today.
אזרחי ישראל, אנחנו במלחמה. לא במבצע, לא בסבבים, במלחמה. הבוקר חמאס פתח במתקפת פתע רצחני נגד מדינת ישראל ונגד אזרחיה. אנחנו בתוך זה משעות הבוקר המוקדמות.
A week after Hamas's onslaught left Israel's defenses in shambles, Israeli forces began bombing Gaza and limited ground operations into the region. Followed by a full-scale invasion into the region on 27th October. Over 2/3 of Gaza has been destroyed since the war, including schools, hospitals, and more. The WHO reports that only 12 of 36 hospitals in Gaza remain partially functional, leaving over 2 million Palestinians without access to proper health care. After a month of fighting, Israel and Hamas agreed to a Qatar and Egypt brokered temporary ceasefire on 24th November, the only ceasefire in the year-long war. During the 6-day truce, 105 hostages and 240 Palestinian detainees were freed, while several humanitarian aids trucks entered the strip. The conflict resumed on 1st December with the IDF launching their first big ground assault on southern Gaza on the outskirts of Khan Yunis. Since the war began, Iran-backed Yemeni militant group the Houthis' attack on commercial shipping vessels has tormented global trade, restricting crucial shipping routes passing through West Asia. While the US, UK, among other allies have retaliated against the Houthis, the Indian Navy played a significant role in rescuing numerous ships struck by Houthi missiles. Roughly 6 months into the war, the region saw its first major escalation as tensions grew between Israel and Iran after Tel Aviv struck an Iranian embassy in Syria. Iran rained down missiles on Israel, its first attack targeting Israel directly from its own soil. Israel responded to the attack by striking an Iranian airbase. Between May and July, U.S. State Secretary Blinken continued his shuttle diplomacy, along with mediators Qatar and Egypt, to get Israel and Hamas on the negotiation table. While Hamas agreed to a truce proposal in early May, raising hopes, Israeli officials called it off as a ruse. Meanwhile, Israeli forces rescued 4 hostages from Gaza while killing over 200 Palestinians. IDF's massive ground operations in Gaza displaced millions of Gazans, pushing them to the last corner of refuge in Rafah. While Netanyahu makes a controversial trip to the United States, vowing to continue the war until he secures total victory. The ICJ rules Israel's settlement in Gaza and the West Bank as unlawful. Perhaps the most consequential moment in the Israel-Hamas war apart from October 7th occurs. Israel kills Hamas's political chief Ismail Haniyeh in a targeted strike in Tehran, shifting the war into a dangerous new phase. Last month saw the conflict expanding, with Israel now striking Lebanese militant group Hezbollah, targeting their pagers and radios and rigging them with explosives. In a further blow to the group, Hezbollah chief Nasrallah is killed in a barrage of Israeli strikes on Beirut.
In the past 365 days, more than 40,000 Palestinians have been killed in Gaza and thousands more in Lebanon, in a war that has changed West Asia forever. As the Israel-Hamas war enters its second year, the clock is ticking for Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who faces varying domestic pressures, from right-wing groups who refuse to participate in ceasefire talks to protests that are demanding hostage release. Meanwhile, his global position continues to decline as he wages a war with no end in sight. Only time will tell what lies ahead for the people of West Asia. Disha Bagchi for NDTV World.
Well, Israel bombed targets in Lebanon and the Gaza Strip on Sunday, ahead of the one-year anniversary of the 7th of October attacks that sparked its war, as Israel's defense minister declared all options were open for retaliation against their arch-enemy Iran. Hezbollah rockets launched late on Sunday got past Israeli air defense systems and landed in Haifa, Israel's third-largest city, causing damage to buildings. This is what police have said. But Israeli media are reporting that 10 people were wounded in the rocket strikes in Haifa and the city of Tiberias. But multiple blasts have shaken the southern suburbs of Lebanon's capital, Beirut, amid Israeli airstrikes on the night before the anniversary of the 7th of October Hamas attacks against Israel. The attacks have come after Israel issued new evacuation orders in southern Lebanon. So Israel's bombarded Beirut in what appears to be its heaviest assault yet on the Lebanese capital. It's also the first time that residents of Haifa have seen rockets land inside the city. But for the clarity, we have with us from Tel Aviv, journalist Nick Kol-Yohin. Thanks so much, Nick, for making time for us on NDTV. 1 year later, Nick, many on ground say glimmers of hope have now been shredded. Now Israel and Iran teeter on the edge of all-out war. Take us through the sentiment in Tel Aviv. What's happening where you are?
Israel is marking 1 year anniversary to the most cruel terror attack that happened in Israel and probably in the whole world. This is the biggest tragedy that happened to the Jewish people since the Holocaust. About 1,200 people were slaughtered and 251 were kidnapped. From them, 101 still in the captivity of Hamas, and Israel will commemorate their memory in several different events throughout the country. One of the events will be where the Nova Festival happened, where 393 people, young people that came to dance were slaughtered in the music festival of Nova. And another major event will be in the Hayarkon Park in Tel Aviv, where the families of the victims of the 7th of October will come to mark this tragic event. And this event will be aired on the Israeli TV, on many other international TV channels as well.
But Nick, you know, many people who've been protesting, they increasingly fear that the fate of the hostages, meanwhile, will be forgotten in the face of the fighting in Lebanon, which continues to escalate. What are you picking up on?
Israel is striving for 1 year now to return all of its hostages. Out of 251 hostages that was taken by the terrorists of Hamas on the 7th of October, 101 women, men, children, elderly are still in the captivity in the tunnels of Gaza. They are almost without air to breathe, in darkness, with almost no food, no water. And their relatives are begging the Israeli government to do much more to bring them back home. Israel's government strategy now is to weaken and to destroy Hamas and Hezbollah, and also it is focusing on the war with Iran, while the families of the hostages asking the government to make a deal now before all the hostages will be dead.
And this as there's a serious risk of all-out war between Israel, Hezbollah and Iran. Nick, it's no secret that both the scale and geographic scope of violence have dramatically increased. Do you believe it's going to get worse before it actually gets any better?
The Middle East is on the brink of a major war. Israel will respond harshly to the second time that Iran is sending hundreds of ballistic missiles towards Israeli cities. One of those missiles almost killed hundreds of children after it hit a school south to Tel Aviv. Just by fortune, the children were already at home. Israel also strives to destroy Hamas and Hezbollah, and also to weaken the Houthis in Yemen. And also Israel is striking in Syria, the militias there, and the transportation of arms from Iran to Hezbollah, and also Israel strikes the militias of Iraq. So all of these can become easily a big war, and now we need to settle it down before it will be too late. And it will be not just a war in Middle East, maybe the whole world will be part of that.
Nick, thanks so much for joining us with your perspective. We will, of course, revert to you for regular updates from Tel Aviv. But this escalation in the Middle East has deeply affected the region, killing thousands, displacing millions. Here's a report looking at the finer details. Listen in.
Israel is marking the first anniversary of the October 7th Hamas attack that prompted the nation's strongest response in decades. Immediately after the attack, the IDF launched airstrikes and a ground invasion in Gaza aimed at dismantling Hamas that continues to this day. A year later, Israel's war with Gaza has spread, creating a dangerous regional crisis. What began as a localized conflict between Israel and Hamas has transformed into a multi-front war. The involvement of key regional players, notably Iran, has heightened tensions, particularly following its recent ballistic missile strike on Israeli targets. Israel is now facing a war from 7 different fronts. The fighting in Gaza remains one of the most significant fronts. Israeli airstrikes continue to target Hamas infrastructure, while ground operations have led to significant casualties. Meanwhile, 97 out of the 250 Israeli hostages captured by Hamas on October 7th are still held in Gaza, with many feared dead. The initial war between Israel and Hamas has seen major escalation with neighboring countries such as Iran. 6 months into the war, tensions grew between Israel and Iran after Iran rained down missiles on Israel in response to Tel Aviv striking the Iranian consulate in Syria. Hamas's top leader Ismail Haniyeh was also killed in Israeli strikes. Last month, Israel struck Lebanese militant group Hezbollah in an attack that saw around 5,000 pagers and radios detonating. As Israel launched its ground invasion in Beirut, Hezbollah fired a barrage of rockets towards Israel. The IDF claims Hezbollah militants have fired over 10,000 rockets across the border since October 8th. Hezbollah strikes have struck deeper into Israeli territory than they have done in any other recent attacks. Schools have closed in many northern areas of Israel, and gatherings have been restricted. The war in Lebanon and Gaza now threatens to spread further after Iran fired nearly 200 missiles at Israel on October 1st. Iran stated that this attack was a response to the killings of Hezbollah leader Nasrallah and Hamas political leader Haniyeh. As tensions continue to rise, both Iran and the international community are preparing for a possible Israeli retaliation in the wake of the massive missile strikes and a fear of a growing regional war. Samia Afsar for NDTV World.
Meanwhile, U.S. efforts to secure a Gaza ceasefire remain stalled after nearly more than a year of fighting now. Iran-backed Houthi rebels continue to attack Red Sea shipping routes as we speak, and now, despite intense U.S.-led diplomacy, the Israel-Hezbollah conflict threatens to flare into an all-out regional war. But with the clock ticking on his administration, U.S. President Joe Biden faces an arc of Middle East crises likely to defy solution before he leaves office in January, and which look all but certain to tarnish his foreign policy legacy, many foreign diplomats and geopolitical watchers argue.
Charles de Gaulle, the French military general and statesman, had once said, "Diplomats are useful only in fair weather. As soon as it rains, they drown in every job." Decades later, de Gaulle's words still resonate in the current geopolitical scenario. As world leaders continue to struggle to find common ground over a ceasefire in Gaza. U.S. efforts to secure a ceasefire has so far yielded no positive results, as Iran-backed Houthi rebels continue to attack the Red Sea shipping, and now the Israel-Hezbollah conflict threatens to escalate into an all-out regional war.
Each of us has to continue to press all of the parties to make the decisions necessary to get this deal over the finish line. It remains, again, the best way to get hostages home, bring relief to people, and it also can help us reduce tensions on other fronts.
Experts suggest that the conflict highlights the limits of U.S. power and influence in the Middle East. Despite being Israel's top arms supplier and a strong ally, U.S. President Joe Biden has failed to change Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's mind. The Biden administration has been trying for a year to help broker an Israeli-Hamas ceasefire deal and free hostages taken by the militants in their October 7th attack last year. U.S.'s top diplomat Antony Blinken has traveled to the region nearly 10 times in the past year, and no breakthrough is imminent, according to reports. Many U.S. officials have blamed Hamas for failed negotiations, but some also cite Netanyahu's shifting demands. Qatar, a strong regional force, played a big role in earlier ceasefire negotiations, but has not been able to achieve the desired results. With another front opening in the Middle East and Netanyahu in no mood of declaring a ceasefire, the task of achieving a ceasefire in Gaza seems to be a distant reality and shows how diplomacy has failed the region. With Vishal Vivek, Samia Afsar for NDTV World.
As always, news and updates continue in a moment right after this very short break. Don't go anywhere.
From the heart of city in Beirut, a city which is scarred by violence and caught between the crossfire between Israel and Hezbollah. A war which started a year ago between Israel and Hamas has now spilled over to Lebanon. NDTV is on the ground to bring latest updates, in-depth analysis, and how the evolving war has impacted this country. Stay tuned for latest updates.
NDTV World Summit 2024, October 21st and 22nd, only on NDTV Network. Stay informed and entertained with the new and updated NDTV News app. You can watch all our channels live, listen to podcasts, read breaking and exclusive news from around the world and more. Download the NDTV app today and get access to the best journalism and storytelling on your smartphone or tablet. The NDTV app. News that matters to you.
I've been reporting on all issues big and small from Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, rest of South India, bringing you all the action, all that you need to know, all that you want to know.
The energy of Maximum City is infectious. I bring in that energy in our news coverage from financial capital Mumbai.
India's IT capital is always buzz. It's literally a city that never sleeps. And I keep you ahead on all the Bengaluru buzz.
Covering from the southernmost part of India over the last 23 years, I bring in-depth and 360-degree coverage from the Dravidian heartland.
The land of Mishti is also known for its bitter politics. I have seen much water flow under the Howrah Bridge, covering Bengal in all its vivid colors.
New day, new show, a new experience.
Start your day with the news, not views.
We bring you stories that matter
and impact your life.
News that informs and keeps you ahead.
From Maximum City, Mumbai,
to the seat of power, Delhi,
NDTV brings you the best breakfast show.
breakfast news on NDTV, 8 a.m. every day.
कि जिसकी सरकार सेंटर में हुई है उसी की सरकार प्रदेश में होती है।
एंटी इनकम्बेंसी को कैसे देख रहे हैं? इनकम्बेंसी नहीं है,
प्रो इनकम्बेंसी।
कांग्रेस आ रही है, भाजपा जा रही है।
Congress is going to form the government in Haryana with a big majority.
From the heart of city in Beirut,
Chennai air show, a tragedy claims 5 lives. Poor crowd management led to chaos, and the death toll has now risen from 3 to 5. ED raids on Aam Aadmi Party MP in Punjab. Raids underway at 2 locations. Case of acquiring land by alleged fraudulent means. Aam Aadmi Party MP retorts, says that he is a law-abiding citizen. Kerala SIT grills actor Siddiq. Kerala SIT is questioning the actor in the Mollywood Me Too case. The actor booked for rape charges. Siddiq recently got interim protection from the Supreme Court on the 30th for 2 weeks. Land for Jobs case and bail for Lalu Prasad Yadav and his son Tejasvi Yadav. RJD chief Lalu Yadav and his son appeared in court in the Land for Jobs case, and the court granted the leaders of the RJD bail. Ceremonial welcome for Maldives president. It was Prime Minister Modi who received the president of Maldives along with the president Draupadi Murmu there at that ceremonial welcome at the Rashtrapati Bhavan this morning. A very good morning. You're watching NDTV 24x7. I'm Divya Vadva. We have a whole lot lined up for you, including our top story, and that is a day meant to mark a moment of national pride for the Indian Air Force turned into a nightmare at Chennai's Marina Beach when a crowd of more than 15 lakh people surged towards exits, leaving 5 people dead and many hospitalized. The 6th of October air show held to commemorate the Indian Air Force's 92nd anniversary was the first such event in Chennai in over 2 decades. What was intended to be a spectacle of military aviation ended in chaos as the sheer size of the crowd overwhelmed both organizers and local authorities as well. Now, questions are being raised over the Indian Air Force aggressively pushing this event to set a Limca book of a world record by aiming to mobilize 15 lakh spectators, much beyond manageable, and the Chennai City Police's poor crowd and traffic management. And we have my colleague Sam joining us to get us more on this. Sam, unfortunately, what was really expected here was that the death toll would rise, and that's exactly what we've seen. From 3, now 5 people have died due to the chaos that erupted during that event.
That's right, Divya. The Tamil Nadu Health Minister Subramanian has confirmed that a total of 5 people have lost their lives after the spectacular Indian Air Force air show that was held yesterday on the marina. And he blames it on the extreme heat conditions in Chennai yesterday. And he says, he claims that the Tamil Nadu government had provided all arrangements the Indian Air Force had asked in terms of medical center, 4,000 beds kept ready, and deployment of doctors and paramedics along the route where the people, 15 lakh people, had walked or rushed soon after the air show. And he says all these 5 who died were brought dead, and as we speak now, 7 more remain as inpatients, and their condition is said to be stable. And big questions, tough questions are being asked both to the Tamil Nadu government as well as to the Indian Air Force that had attempted to set Limca Book of World Records, mobilizing 15 lakh people along the marina as part of its 92nd anniversary. Whether this could have been avoided, whether they should have thought twice about mobilizing this kind of a crowd in a place that cannot handle this kind of a crowd along the marina, that's being asked. Secondly, also questions on the way the Tamil Nadu government, particularly the Chennai police, handled the crowd as well as the traffic. While everything went well in the run-up to the event, after the event, the entire congregation of 15 lakh people had to rush to the roads to head towards the metro stations or railway stations or the parking slots where they had parked their cars or two-wheelers. And that's when they suffered extreme heat conditions, they suffered dehydration, hundreds fainted, and there was no help because even ambulances got stuck. And even DMK MP Kanimuli on X platform has said we should avoid in future such unmanageable crowds, she says. And the Tamil Nadu government claims all that was asked by the Indian Air Force was provided. Normally, Tamil Nadu government objects to this kind of larger gatherings, citing difficulty in handling. It could be law and order problems or it could be safety concerns. But this time, this being organized by the Indian Air Force as part of its 92nd anniversary, no such concerns were expressed. And the public, in a sense, were caught unawares because there was hardly any police presence on the ground when the entire 15 lakh people had to go on this road with no inch of space available for them to rest or move. And there was no police there to regulate the crowd, to direct them, to guide them in terms of traffic. They felt like they were left to fend for themselves. But the police claims they had deployed 7,500 police personnel, including 1,000 home guards. But the larger question, can they have handled this better, Or should they have advised the Indian Air Force that this kind of a crowd cannot be handled, and they should have given a clear understanding to the people what is in store for them, especially after this 3 or 4 hour of wait on the marina, that it may still take hours for them to clear this space. People thought the authorities would take care of everything. There was no water supply, there was no paramedics available, and all these had led to a situation of losing 5 lives now. Several questions, both for the Indian Air Force and for the Tamil Nadu government authorities for the kind of support they gave on the ground.
Right, Sam, you mentioned Kanimuri, who's taken to social media X and said that the news of the death of those people is very sad and painful. But she's also gone on to say that the public witnessed not just the program, but they also suffered the crowd and the temperature was high. That is what she's gone on to mention, talking about the unmanageable gathering that should completely be avoided. Sam, what were the kind of people, the number of people that were expected to gather for this? Was this on expected lines? When we talk about 15 lakh people, were they expecting 15 lakh people to show up?
From day one, Divya, the Indian Air Force, which normally does not brief the press often, but they had gone to town aggressively promoting this particular event, celebrating, of course, the Indian Air Force's 92nd anniversary and the kind of display of the Indian Air Force's might. But they were also particular that this event would turn into a world record, congregating or bringing together 15 lakh people. And that became a matter of concern, because whether they had taken into account the limitations in terms of the infrastructure on the ground to handle this kind of a crowd. Because before the event starts, the crowd gathers over a period of 3 to 4 hours before the event. But after the event, the entire 15 lakh people rush to the main road to get back home in the heat conditions. And that's where they were caught unawares. And whether the Indian Air Force had taken into account these factors, that's the big question now. And it's in this context, Kanimoli MP has said that we should avoid this kind of unmanageable crowds in future. Even when a few years ago, almost nearly a decade ago, when the marina witnessed a massive uprising in terms of the demand to exempt or remove the ban on the Jallikattu event, only around 3 lakh people had gathered. But this is 15 lakh people, entire beach dotted with thousands of spectators, and these raise several questions in terms of better planning, better raising awareness among the public as well, because they think once the Air Force or once the government play a role in this, they take it for granted that everything will be in place in terms of their safety, in terms of their guidelines to get them back home safe. But they never anticipated that they would have to wait, particularly those carrying little children, elderly people. They were all caught unawares, and there was no water supply along the beach road. There was no, even the eateries were shut. The ones that remained open did not have enough stock of water. So all these things factored into situations like massive fainting, people getting fainted, dehydration, heat stroke and things like that.
Right, basic necessities such as water and food were missing as far as this event is concerned. Thank you so much, Sam, for highlighting the problem with the event that was organized by the Indian Air Force. Switching tracks now, the Enforcement Directorate conducted searches at the residence of Aam Aadmi Party leader. He's an MP, Sanjeev Arora, in Punjab's Ludhiana. Officials have said that the raids were held in a money laundering probe case, according to sources. Is Mr. Arora, the Aam Aadmi Party's Rajya Sabha MP, is accused of fraudulently acquiring land worth crores in the name of his company. And reacting to that, he's gone on to say he's really not sure about the reason for the search operations. And, he's gone on to say that he's a complete law-abiding citizen. So he's completely baffled with why these searches taking place. And of course, it was Manish Sisodia coming out in his defense, saying that in the last 2 years, they have raided Arvind Kejriwal's house as well as his own house, that's Manish Sisodia's house, as well as Sanjay Singh's house and Satyendra Jain's house, and nothing has been found. So he has gone on to say that this is complete political vendetta against the Aam Aadmi Party, and the agencies are being used by the centre, by the Prime Minister, in order to target the Aam Aadmi Party, but it's the Aam Aadmi Party that will not sell out and they will not be scared. We have my colleague Gurpreet joining us to get us more on this. Gurpreet, of course, it is the Aam Aadmi Party reacting to this by saying it's the agencies working on the behest of the Prime Minister and that the Aam Aadmi Party is being targeted.
Well, yes, of course, we have seen Aam Aadmi Party has already hit out at the agency and saying these agencies, specifically Enforcement Directorate, that is being misused by the government of India, and they are trying to go for arm twisting for these leaders who are working for Aam Aadmi Party. We have seen today what we have learned from the sources. ED has conducted raids at the house of Aam Aadmi Party leader in Ludhiana, and what we have learned, not only his house was being raided by the Enforcement Directorate, there is another person who was very close to the Congress leader Bharat Bhushan Ashu, who was the minister in the state government. He was also arrested by the Enforcement Directorate earlier. So somewhere down the lane, what we have learned from the agencies also, they have got a lot of inputs, and on the basis of input, they have already done preliminary investigation, and after that getting more leads, these raids are being conducted by Enforcement Directorate. But what we can understand, these raids have become a political issue for Aam Aadmi Party, and very clearly Manish Sisodia has just put all these things on X, saying that it's not the first time they are trying to target Aam Aadmi Party leader. We have seen earlier also such type of raids were being conducted at the residence of Arvind Kejriwal, Supremo of Aam Aadmi Party, Sanjay Singh and Manish Sisodia, and other leaders also. But Aam Aadmi Party will continue its work for the welfare of the people. So let's see that what will the agencies are going to get, and how they are going to respond on the statement which is being given by the Aam Aadmi Party leader and targeting Enforcement Directorate, saying that it seems these agencies are being misused. The raid is already underway. They are trying to find out all the documents which are required for the investigation, and that is the core reasons why this raid has been conducted by Enforcement Directorate, so that they will be able to connect all the dots within the investigation. So let's see how the things will be coming out, and what type of reaction from the agency will come to give an answer to Aam Aadmi Party leader statement, who has already said that it's the political vendetta and these agencies are being misused by the ruling government. Back to studio.
Right, Gurpreet, we will keep coming back to you, because raids are underway across Punjab, various locations of Punjab. 17 locations are being raided by the Enforcement Directorate. Switching tracks now to Mollywood's Me Too moment, and it is the SIT, the Special Investigation Team, that is now questioning actor Siddique. The actor was booked in the rape case. This is the first questioning of the actor in that case. To remember that he had got interim protection from the top court on the 30th of September for 2 weeks. Now that Special Investigation Team is questioning the actor in connection with the rape case. This decision follows Siddique's agreement to appear for questioning, which he emailed to the probe agencies on Friday the 3rd of October. The investigating team started its questioning at about 11 o'clock this morning at the Police Commissioner's residence in Thiruvananthapuram, and the interrogation is likely to continue for a couple of hours. And we have Ishika joining us to get us more on this. Ishika, it is the actor who volunteered and said that he will be cooperating in the probe, and which is why he has himself written to them, emailed to them, saying that I want to come in order to help with the investigation.
Yes, certainly, this we are seeing that after, Siddique got the anticipatory bail from the top court. After that, he had written to the Trivandrum City Police, in fact, saying that he is willing to appear for interrogation, which was accepted by the police. And today, in fact, the questioning of actor Siddique is currently underway. He first, in fact, reached to the Commissioner's office, but he was later asked to move to the Trivandrum Police Control Room for interrogation, and senior officials of the SIT are present there to interrogate him. Remember that this is, in fact, one of the most, most important cases, grave allegations that were leveled against him, rape allegations, in fact, that were leveled against him. And in this case, particularly, we have seen that police, in fact, has been more sensitive. In fact, different SIT was formed in Trivandrum just to investigate this case. So certainly, it is a very, it is the very first case, one of the very first cases we saw, when this Mollywood Me Too wave started, and, which resulted in his resignation from the Amma Association. He continues to say, though, that, this is all a part of conspiracy, and he continues to question the stand of the complainant. But today certainly remains important. We'll have to wait and watch as to for how many hours this interrogation goes on for. Over to you.
Right, Ishika, thank you so much for joining us with those details. And switching tracks now to the Land for Jobs case in which Lalu Prasad Yadav and his sons appeared in court this morning and they were granted bail. So it's Lalu Prasad Yadav and his sons who appeared in Delhi court. This is the first court appearance by Tej Pratap, the son of Lalu Prasad Yadav, and the hearing that took place in Delhi. That Delhi court granted bail to RJD head and former Bihar Chief Minister Lalu Prasad Yadav and his sons Tejasvi Yadav and Tej Prasad Yadav in the Land for Jobs case. Let's listen in to the reactions coming in.
हम लोगों को न्यायालय पे पूरा भरोसा है और आज हम लोगों को जो है बेल न्यायालय ने दिया है और ये पूरी तरीके से जो है राजनीतिक साजिश षड्यंत्र जो है वो बार बार ये लोग करते रहते हैं और जितने एजेंसी हैं उनका दुरुपयोग करते हैं। तो कहीं भी इस केस में मुकदमे में दम नहीं है और हम लोगों की जीत तय है।
And to get more on this, we have Tanushka joining us. Tanushka, we just heard Tejasvi Yadav saying that there was no, this thing as far as the case is concerned. It was a very weak case, and which is why that they will be winning this case. And for now, huge relief when it comes to Lalu Prasad Yadav and his sons.
Well, Divya, not a huge relief because the trial court, the Rouse Avenue court, will be continuing with its trial on the case on the Land for Jobs scam on October 25th. This is what the special CBI judge has decided in the court, that all the scrutiny of the documents as well as the presentation of the bail bonds will happen on October 25th. They were granted bail today. Why? Because this is a procedural bail that was given to them since they were charge sheeted without arrest. Now, speaking about the case, of course, the Enforcement Directorate had filed a supplementary charge sheet with the Rouse Avenue Court, had taken cognizance of in its last hearing with respect to the case, and the charge sheet that was filed has named Lalu Prasad Yadav, the former Railway Minister, as the main accused, along with his son Tej Pratap Yadav and the former Bihar Deputy Chief Minister Tejasvi Yadav, all three were present in court today because they were summoned by the special judge in the court, so they were physically present in court today. And as we also rightly heard Tejasvi Yadav give a statement with respect to the bail that has been given, and what we're also understanding about.
और जिस तरह से सरकार विपक्ष के नेताओं को फंसाने की कोशिश कर रही है,
कुछ करना चाहेंगे मैम क्या करना चाहेंगे
And Tanushka back with us. Tanushka, of course, the family reacting there as far as this interim bail that the family has received, whether it's Lalu Prasad Yadav or both his sons, and of course it was Tej Pratap. This was his first appearance in court in the case.
Right. Exactly, Divya, and the case pertaining to this is, of course, with respect to obtaining illegal gratifications of land parcels in exchange for job appointments in the Indian Railways. This is what the scam is about, and the Enforcement Directorate has understood that these land parcels, which were also procured in such a way that it consolidates the holdings that are already in possession of the Yadav family. So the ED proposes that this is a scam that is being done, that was done by not just Lalu Prasad Yadav, but his family and his associates as well, which involves his wife Rabri Devi as well. And what we also understand that these land parcels have been classified as proceeds of crime, POC, under the PMLA Act of 2002. And according to the ED, Lalu Prasad Yadav, through his family and his associates, orchestrated a criminal conspiracy to conceal the acquisition of these proceeds of crime and ensured that these parcels were transferred in a manner that did not, come about with his direct involvement, that did not display.
So all that thought, we'll come back to you. So let's just cut across to Prime Minister Modi, who's meeting with the President of Maldives. That is President Muizzu, meeting with the Prime Minister. Do remember that he received a ceremonial welcome this morning at the Rashtrapati Bhavan, where the Prime Minister was there to greet him, along with Draupadi Murmu, the President of India, and of course Muizzu, who's here on a 5-day visit till the 10th of October, arrived in Delhi on a Sunday. He met with the External Affairs Minister. He also spoke about how, the security of India can never be undermined, and that is what he's gone on to say. Of course, this visit is the second visit by the leader of Maldives. The first time this year. He was here for the swearing-in ceremony of Prime Minister Modi in June, and now he is back here for a bilateral meeting. Of course, the Prime Minister there meeting him in order to strengthen the ties when it comes to the neighbouring nation. And of course, neighbourhood first is the policy that India has maintained, and of course it is President Muizzu who is here on that bilateral meeting. He is meeting with Prime Minister Modi. He will from here in fact be meeting also Draupadi Murmu before he flies out. He is going to be visiting Mumbai, Agra as well as Bengaluru during his visit. He's here with his wife, the First Lady, and those are shots coming in live of the Prime Minister there meeting that's going to be taking place. Of course, that ceremonial welcome that was seen earlier today in the morning when the President was welcomed by the Prime Minister and the President of India. But he did meet with Jaishankar, the External Affairs Minister, yesterday, and of course it was Jaishankar who had spoken about the commitment and appreciating that commitment of President Muizzu in regard to strengthening ties when it comes to the two nations. And with that, we're slipping into a short break. Back with a whole lot more.
Hello, Moto.
Motorola Edge 50 Pro, world's first AI-powered pro-grade camera. NDTV World Summit 2024, October 21st and 22nd, only on NDTV Network. Stay informed and entertained with the new and updated NDTV News app. You can watch all our channels live, listen to podcasts, read breaking and exclusive news from around the world and more. Download the NDTV app today and get access to the best journalism and storytelling on your smartphone or tablet. The NDTV app. News that matters to you.
I've been reporting on all issues big and small from Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, rest of South India, bringing you all the action, all that you need to know, all that you want to know.
The energy of Maximum City is infectious. I bring in that energy in our news coverage from financial capital Mumbai.
India's IT capital is always buzz. It's literally a city that never sleeps. And I keep you ahead on all the Bengaluru buzz.
Covering from the southernmost part of India over the last 23 years, I bring in-depth and 360-degree coverage from the Dravidian heartland.
The land of Mishti is also known for its bitter politics. I have seen much water flow under the Howrah Bridge, covering Bengal in all its vivid colors.
New day, new show, a new experience.
Start your day with the news, not views.
We bring you stories that matter
and impact your life.
News that informs and keeps you ahead.
From Maximum City, Mumbai,
to the seat of power, Delhi,
NDTV brings you the best breakfast show.
Breakfast news on NDTV, 8 a.m. every day.
कि जिसकी सरकार सेंटर में हुई है उसी की सरकार प्रदेश में होती है।
एंटी इनकम्बेंसी को कैसे देख रहे हैं? इनकम्बेंसी नहीं है,
प्रो इनकम्बेंसी।
कांग्रेस आ रही है, भाजपा जा रही है।
Congress is going to form the government in Haryana with a big majority.
From the heart of city in Beirut, a city which is scarred by violence and caught between the cross.
Welcome back, and it's President Muizzu of the Maldives who's here for his first bilateral in India, and he's holding that bilateral meeting with Prime Minister Modi. He did receive a ceremonial welcome this morning. He has also, before that visit, spoken about the Maldives that will not act to undermine India's security and views from New Delhi as a valued partner and friend, and cooperation in several fields, including defense, will always be a priority, is what was heard by the President Mohamed Muizzu, who met with the External Affairs Minister yesterday. He's on a 5-day visit. He will be touring other cities of India as well while he's here with the First Lady. And to get more on his visit, we have Vishnu joining us. Vishnu, take us through the significance of his second visit within a span of a couple of months since the swearing-in ceremony of the Prime Minister, and now he's back here again for his first bilateral.
Yeah, it is the first bilateral of the Maldivian president to India. It is important because it's part of what we believe to be a reset of the relationship between New Delhi and Malé, which has been quite strained for a period of time. Remember, President Mohamed Muizzu came to power on a India Go Back campaign where he wanted Indian soldiers deployed on the Maldives to actually just fly and service 3 aircraft which have been donated from India to the Maldives to go back home. He wanted them out of the Maldives. His first state visit was to Beijing. It wasn't to New Delhi, as has been the case with Maldivian leaders in the past. And clearly, Beijing reached out to Malé and said that, let's get into a strategic relationship where we provide you weaponry without any cost, any charge. So that is what New Delhi is worried about, because it comes at a time when we are seeing a rapid expansion of the Chinese military presence in the waters of the Indian Ocean, whether it's warships, submarines, or research vessels, some of which have docked in Malé itself. But over the last couple of weeks, we've seen some very promising signs. We've heard signals from the Maldives, and now this important statement from President Muizzu himself to the Times of India, where he said that the Maldives wouldn't compromise on the security of India, and that while the policy of the Maldives was Maldives first, it didn't mean that that would necessarily come at the cost of India. So while the Maldives will seek to further their international relations with whichever country they want to, they are quite certain that they would like to continue engaging with India economically. Remember, India has been involved in several crucial infrastructure projects in the Maldives. We've been, for example, involved in the upgrade of the Maldives, of the Malé International Airport townships as well, other projects. Tourism is a major factor which the Maldives would like to look at. There's been a huge push down, a letdown as far as tourism is concerned after some controversial remarks made by Maldivian leaders directed at Prime Minister Modi, with several Indians choosing not to visit the Maldives. The Maldives would like to restore that. So all in all, the expectation is that these memoranda of understanding would be positive and would work towards stabilizing that relationship, which is so important besides anything else, Divya, from a historical and cultural standpoint.
Right. Thank you so much, Vishnu, for getting us all those details. And of course, that bilateral meeting that has just begun with the Prime Minister and the President of Maldives. It's been 1 year since the Hamas attack on Israel, and today marks the 1-year anniversary of the October 7th attack by Hamas on Israel, the day that has changed the Middle East forever. As the nation reflects on this somber milestone, tensions continue to escalate on multiple fronts. In response to the attacks, Israel launched extensive military operations, including heavy bombing raids in both Gaza as well as Lebanon. The possibility of retaliatory airstrikes against Iran also looms large. Flight restrictions that were in place. In fact, when it comes to the flights in and out of Iran's airspace, and this is marking the first-year anniversary of the attack that took place on the 7th of October 2023. And as fresh strikes have now been reported that continue from yesterday. There were mass protests that had taken place across the world, from New York to Paris to London to Madrid, even in Germany. Across the world, there were protests that were being held in order to ask for the ceasefire attempt, in order, in fact, as the anniversary of the 7th of October was nearing. It is countries across the world on the weekend were asking, including Pope Francis, that was asking for a ceasefire in the situation that is now seem to be escalating. The escalation seems to be widening in terms of the situation on the ground, and this is the airstrikes. These are airstrikes that took place in Beirut, missiles that hit Israel city as well, as Gaza war completes exactly a year to date. So Israel and Hezbollah exchange more fire ahead of that anniversary of the Hamas attack, which triggered that war in Gaza and further escalated tensions in the Middle East. And what impact does this have on India? We'll take a look at this report.
Israel is marking the first anniversary of the October 7th Hamas attack that prompted the nation's strongest response in decades. Immediately after the attack, the IDF launched airstrikes and a ground invasion in Gaza aimed at dismantling Hamas that continues to this day. A year later, Israel's war with Gaza has spread, creating a dangerous regional crisis. What began as a localized conflict between Israel and Hamas has transformed into a multi-front war. The involvement of key regional players, notably Iran, has heightened tensions, particularly following its recent ballistic missile strike on Israeli targets. Israel is now facing a war from 7 different fronts. The fighting in Gaza remains one of the most significant fronts. Israeli airstrikes continue to target Hamas infrastructure, while ground operations have led to significant casualties. Meanwhile, 97 out of the 250 Israeli hostages captured by Hamas on October 7th are still held in Gaza, with many feared dead. The initial war between Israel and Hamas has seen major escalation with neighboring countries such as Iran. 6 months into the war, tensions grew between Israel and Iran after Iran rained down missiles on Israel in response to Tel Aviv striking the Iranian consulate in Syria. Hamas's top leader Ismail Haniyeh was also killed in Israeli strikes. Last month, Israel struck Lebanese militant group Hezbollah in an attack that saw around 5,000 pagers and radios detonating. As Israel launched its ground invasion in Beirut, Hezbollah fired a barrage of rockets towards Israel. The IDF claims Hezbollah militants have fired over 10,000 rockets across the border since October 8th. Hezbollah strikes have struck deeper into Israeli territory than they have done in any other recent attacks. Schools have closed in many northern areas of Israel, and gatherings have been restricted. The war in Lebanon and Gaza now threatens to spread further after Iran fired nearly 200 missiles at Israel on October 1st. Iran stated that this attack was a response to the killings of Hezbollah leader Nasrallah and Hamas political leader Haniyeh. As tensions continue to rise, both Iran and the international community are preparing for a possible Israeli retaliation in the wake of the massive missile strikes and a fear of a growing regional war. Samia Afsar for NDTV World.
And multiple blasts have shaken the southern suburbs of Lebanon's capital Beirut amid Israeli airstrikes on the night before the anniversary of the 7th of October. On 7th of October last year, Hamas, a militant group which controlled Gaza, crossed over into Israel and launched Operation Al-Aqsa Flood. a deadly terror attack that killed over 1,200 people across the country. And now this escalation in the Middle East has deeply affected the region, killing thousands and displacing millions. While there is a tribute that's coming in as well. This is on the one-year anniversary of the Hamas attack on Israel. Families remember victims a year later. Loved ones mourned the victims and survivors shared their stories. The last track from the Nova Music Festival played again as families remembered the victims a year later. And breaking news coming in at the moment, and this is in regard to Karnataka's Muda scam. The fresh complaint in the Muda scam has now, this is a complaint that hints at proof tampering. The complaint has been handed over to the Karnataka's DGP. The complainant has alleged that there was a bid to destroy proof. The complainant's charge is against Karnataka's Minister Suresh. Well, this is a charge as far as the minister has taken away files to destroy is the charge that's been made by the complainant in the Muda case. Do remember, it is Siddaramaiah, the Chief Minister, who's facing the heat in the Muda scam, and this is in regard to the land that was acquired by his wife Parvati. So now it is Parvati, his wife, who has now offered to return the lands which are in a dispute. But it is a Chief Minister who has stood his ground, said he hasn't done anything wrong and that he would not step aside.
ನನಗೆ ಬಂದಿರೋ ಮಾಹಿತಿ ಪ್ರಕಾರ ಮೈಸೂರು ಲೋಕಾಯುಕ್ತ SP ಆಗಿದ್ದಂಥ ಸಜಿತ್ ರವರು ಮೈಸೂರು ನಗರಾಭಿವೃದ್ಧಿ ಪ್ರಾಧಿಕಾರದಲ್ಲಿ ದಾಳಿ ನಡೆಸಿ ದಾಖಲೆಗಳನ್ನು ಸಂಗ್ರಹ ಮಾಡುವಂಥ ವಿಚಾರವನ್ನು ಸಚಿವರಾದ ಬೈರತಿ ಸುರೇಶ್ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಮಾಹಿತಿಯನ್ನು ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದರಿಂದ ಬೈರತಿ ಸುರೇಶ್ ಅವರು ಮೈಸೂರಿಗೆ ಹೆಲಿಕಾಪ್ಟರ್ ಬಂದು ಅಲ್ಲಿದ್ದಂಥ ಪ್ರಮುಖ ಕಡತಗಳನ್ನು ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಬೆಂಗಳೂರು ತಂದಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಅಂತ ಬಂದಿದೆ. ಈ ಹಿನ್ನೆಲೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಏನು ಆರೋಪಿತರಿಗೆ ಸಹಕಾರ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು ಸಜಿತ್ ರವರು, ಅವ್ರನ್ನ ಮೈಸೂರು ಲೋಕಾಯುಕ್ತದಿಂದ ಬೆಂಗಳೂರಿನ ಆಯಾಕಟ್ಟೆ ಜಾಗಕ್ಕೆ ಅವರು ಉಪ ಪೊಲೀಸ್ ಆಯುಕ್ತರಾಗಿ ನೇಮಕ ಮಾಡಿದರು. ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ನೋಡಿದಾಗ ನನಗೇನು ಮಾಹಿತಿ ಬಂದಿದೆ ಅದರ ಪ್ರಕಾರ ಸಚಿವರಾದ ಬೈರತಿ ಸುರೇಶ್ ಅವರು ಮೈಸೂರಿಗೆ ಬಂದು ಕಡತಗಳನ್ನು ತಂದಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಕೆಲವು ಸಾಕ್ಷ್ಯಗಳನ್ನು ನಾಶ ಮಾಡಿರ್ಬೋದು ಅಥವಾ ಕೆಲವು ಸಾಕ್ಷ್ಯಗಳು ಸೃಷ್ಟಿ ಮಾಡಿ ಆ ಕಡತದಲ್ಲಿ ಸೇರಿಸಿರ್ಬೋದು. ಇಲ್ಲೆಲ್ಲದರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ತನಿಖೆ ನಡೆಸಿ ಅಂತೇಳಿ ನಾನು ಪೊಲೀಸ್ ಮಹಾನಿರ್ದೇಶಕರು ದೂರರ್ಜಿ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದೆ. ನಾವು ಕಾನೂನು ಪ್ರಕಾರ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ದೂರರ್ಜಿ ಕೊಡಬೇಕಾಗಿದೆ, ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದೀವಿ. ಅವರು ಕ್ರಮ ತಗೊಳ್ಳಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಮಾನ್ಯ ನ್ಯಾಯಾಲಯಕ್ಕೆ ಹೋಗೋದು ಅನಿವಾರ್ಯ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ED ಅವರು ನನಗೆ ಸಮನ್ಸ್ ಜಾರಿ ಮಾಡಿ ನನ್ನನ್ನು ಕರೆಸ್ಕೊಂಡು ನಾನು ಏನು ಆರೋಪ ಮಾಡಿದೆ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಪೂರಕವಾದಂಥ ಎಲ್ಲ ಮಾಹಿತಿ ದಾಖಲೆಗಳನ್ನು ಪಡ್ಕೊಂಡಿದೆ. ಆ ಹಿನ್ನೆಲೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಅವ್ರು ಕೆಲವು ಸಾಕ್ಷ್ಯಗಳನ್ನು ಸಂಗ್ರಹ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ ಅಂತ ಮಾಹಿತಿ ಇದೆ. ಅವೆಲ್ಲ ಸಾಕ್ಷ್ಯ ಮಾಡಿದ ನಂತರ ಅವ್ರ ಮುಂದಿನ ಕಾನೂನು ಕ್ರಮ ತಗೊಳ್ಬೇಕು.
And we have my colleague Pratibha joining us on the phone line to get us more on this. Pratibha, now it is Minister Suresh who has a complaint has been filed against him, claiming that the minister took away certain files in order to destroy those files. Take us through the role that this minister has to play in this whole Muda scam.
So we are talking of Karnataka's urban development minister, and that is Bilateral Suresh. Except for Bengaluru development, every part of the state comes under him as far as the urban development work is concerned. And talking about the Muda allegations, the time when it surfaced, there is this allegation that Mr. Bilateral Suresh flew through a helicopter and was taking stock of the situation there, had even suspended a few officers there when the allegations rose, and had taken back some files with him. Now, what were those files? What did those documents contain, which could be pretty much relevant to the investigation into the Muda scam, is something that the complainant who first took Siddaramaiah to court has now raised questions about. And keeping in mind all these allegations, he has now knocked on the doors of Alok Mohan, who is the DGP of Karnataka, and has filed his complaint regarding that and has urged the police to investigate into this matter, also investigate into Bilateral Suresh's role here. Remember, Bilateral Suresh is also a close Siddaramaiah loyalist there, and he has been with Mr. Siddaramaiah for quite some time. And we are talking of these allegations that have surfaced against the minister, which definitely also puts the Chief Minister of Karnataka in the dock. So a lot more trouble that is really brewing as far as the Muda scam and the people involved are concerned. Right. But all eyes are on the kind of investigation that will take place.
Right, and he's gone on to say no irregularities happened in the Muda case during my term is what the minister has gone on to say in his defense. Thank you so much, Pratibha, for joining us with those details. Switching tracks now, after a middle-aged woman was allegedly abducted and raped and murdered in East Midnapur district of West Bengal. The main accused in the case has been lynched by a mob in the case of street justice. The family of the deceased woman claims that the incident took place on the